What's going on, Bulls fans? And we got an update. And every time it seems like I come to you guys unexpectedly, it's never with glad tidings. Unfortunately, we got an injury update to Patrick Williams to add him to the growing list of injured Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about all and more. First, we got to play this intro.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bull Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So, Patrick Williams is now listed as questionable for today's game against the Brooklyn Nets with an apparent right shoulder sprain. Now, he does join Zach LaVine, who also has a shoulder injury with a sprained AC joint, Jalen Smith, who has a knee and an ankle injury, and Lonzo Ball, who's also out 10 days with a grade 1 or 2 wrist sprain. So the injuries are definitely piling up now for the Chicago Bulls. And it's really unfortunate when you look at it because, listen, it's just always something in a case when it comes down to it, man. So we'll see how this works out for the Bulls. The Bulls are already in a place, while yes, they're facing off against the Brooklyn Nets, who not a lot of people had a lot of hopes for the Nets and their ability to win basketball games this season. They are 2-3 on the season so far. Is that Patrick Williams? And I want to be clear, it does not seem like it's a serious injury. It does not seem like anything that's going to linger on for the season or anything like that. But the Bulls' injuries are piling up. And for a team that's depth, right? And I talked a lot about that on today's daily episode, how the Bulls' depth is adding and allowing them to really have a lot of different looks, right? A lot of different lineups that they're using and using effectively for that matter. And while Patrick Williams' offensive numbers have not been great by any stretch of the imagination, he's been a key defender for the Chicago Bulls, guarding the 2, the 3, and the 4 position consistently and doing a pretty damn good job defending center so far for the Chicago Bulls. But it's no mistake about it that if nothing else, it's the continued lack of depth now for the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine is questionable for this game. You already may have to replace him with Ayo Dosunmu. Then you get to Patrick Williams, and you got guys like Julian Phillips, Torrey Craig, Modest Bucilis, who, from Billy's recent comments, it doesn't seem like I have too much faith that the Bulls starting Modest Bucilis in replace of Patrick Williams if he can't go tonight. But it's just that the Bulls have been going consistently 10 players deep. That depth being taken away from the Bulls, because now if you come into this game missing Jalen Smith, missing Patrick Williams, missing Zach LaVine, that gets you to a place where now you're having to rely on players that just weren't part of your rotation to start the season at all. So it's really unfortunate when it comes down to it. And we're just gonna have to keep watching how that goes and how that develops for this team. It's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be really tough for this team without that depth, man. And we'll see how it goes. Depth has been the key thing for the Chicago Bulls. On today's episode, I talked a lot about how the Bulls have used a lot of different lineups. So far on the season, we've used over 32 lineups already, 5 games into the season, and they've all had varying degrees of success with different places. Patrick Williams is actually part of one of the better lineups that the Chicago Bulls have as far as point differential, with him, Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe, and I believe it was Lonzo Ball out there as well with those guys. So now we're losing 2 key pieces of that rotation that's out there that has turned into a weapon for the Chicago Bulls. So, continue to monitor, see what's going to happen for the Bulls. The Bulls got to keep finding a way to add depth, man. It really sucks that, the injuries. And again, it's nothing serious. I want to be clear. Even with Zach, and I see AD here saying Zach is hurt again, and y'all not saying nothing about that. I actually have a whole video on that. But it's not major injuries. It's nothing major. These dings are going to happen. But of course, they're magnified for the Chicago Bulls because of how often we've had key players out so consistently, right? So, when it comes down to that, man, we got to keep growing. Hopefully the Bulls' depth ends up helping them be able to weather the storm. Next man up mentality is going to be good. Anthony has a key point here. Man, this is not good for the chemistry. Right now, we're getting into a groove, playing the style they've been trying to install for 2 seasons. You're right. You're definitely right. You're definitely right. He says, I know we already have. Okay, I just want to make sure you know. We definitely are on top of all of that. Definitely on top of all of that. But yeah, and so it stinks right now. and especially at this early part of the season. But here's what I'll say. At least if we're looking for any bright side, we could be the Orlando Magic losing your best player for 4 to 6 weeks, right? And while the Bulls have historically had some very bad and sucky injuries, at least it's not that we're missing players for at least a month to a month and a half already, right? So that's one thing that we're gonna have to keep growing and developing on. But yeah, just another wrinkle to this early season for the Chicago Bulls, already learning a new style, which they've implemented pretty well. But now you're missing one of your starters, right? And regardless of how good he's playing or not, he is still one of your starters. Now, this does open up opportunity, and somebody's going to have to run through that door and snatch this opportunity and use it to their advantage. Hopefully, that can be Julian Phillips. Julian Phillips is a player that is a part of a lot of the Bulls' good lineups, even though he's not necessarily scoring the best right now. But this is an opportunity for him maybe to do something different, right? So, with injuries comes opportunity, and with the Bulls already being a team that is the development of their young players was at the forefront of this season. Hopefully they're able to not take advantage of it, but hopefully maybe it can work into their favor with things like that. And again, that's if they even miss. That's if they even miss time. For all we know, Zach, Jalen Smith, and Patrick Williams could all end up playing tonight. Maybe they're on a minutes restriction. Maybe they play the first half. Maybe it's something like that. But we'll end up seeing how it develops, man. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Got to get ready to go and do Locked On Bulls, which was supposed to start at 12, so I'm a little behind. But I had to bring you guys this breaking news. Make sure you guys stay in tune with us. Follow us at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. Thanks to you guys. And I'll see you guys the next time. Hopefully it's tonight and no more breaking news that is bad.